Good morning and welcome back to In the Garden. Paul and Taft here. And Paul, all summer long we've been talking generally about outdoor plants and gardening outside. Today we're going to bring it inside and talk a little bit about house plants. Lots of varieties once again in this type of plant.
So many different choices. And we often think of houseplants as just green, but look at these. These are bromeliad,
Beautiful.
okay? So these are tropical, but they're just absolutely gorgeous. So you not only get the green leaf, but you get this beautiful flower. Um, Easy to grow, no big issue with regular household environment, and they're wonderful. And there's actually a related form, which is the Tillandsia or air plants. These are really cool. These are epiphytes, so they don't need soil. They actually grow on trees, but you can just set them in a jar, mist them a little bit, or submerge them in water every few days, and they derive all their nutrients from the air.
So a lot of things we talk about with these plants are some of the appearances that we see, the beautiful greens of the leaves and the flowers and their colors, but there are a lot of advantages to having houseplants as well.
Absolutely. They will reduce air pollution in the home. They will sequester or suck up CO2 and give off oxygen. And they actually reduce noise in the home. People don't often think about that advantage, but situated here and there in the corners, especially if you've got hardwood floors, they will really help soak up some noise.
And all different varieties in terms of the sizes. If you need a large area filled, you can find a plant or maybe a small tree inside for that. But what about the general maintenance that we see on house plants? For the most part, somewhat easy.
Somewhat easy. Rule number one, you want to mist them routinely. They really love that high humidity. Most of them, not all, but most really like that high humidity level. And again, these, for instance, the water is going to go down into that portion of the plant, which is good. But misting is a good thing. Um, the way people kill houseplants, I'd venture to guess 90% of all houseplant deaths are the result of overwatering. So don't get into that routine of, oh, every Saturday I'm going to water my houseplants. That's convenient for you. It may be terrible for houseplants. So there are meters you can use, moisture meters, but I'm old school. I just put my finger in the soil. If the soil is dry to 2 inches depth, it's time to water.
So you don't need any type of fancy instrument to know whether you need to water.
You really don't. I mean, some people rely on them and they're fine. I'm old school.
So whenever we talk about that, do you think it's better that we in general mist these plants as opposed to watering them, or should we just kind of do both at the same time?
You got to do both. And in some cases, particularly if they've been outside all summer, a lot of people like to put these plants on their patio during the summer months. When you bring them in before temperatures get below, say, the mid 40s, it's a good idea to just put them in the shower. Turn on the shower, soak them really good. It'll wash off a lot of the dust that's accumulated. It'll also knock off some of the insects that might be on there. And then let them dry and then set them out in the house wherever you want.
And that's one final thing is what about pests and that kind of thing? Even though we obviously know there are more pests outside than inside, are these a little bit more tolerant of disease and that type of thing being indoors?
Well, they don't suffer from as many pests. Fungus gnats could be a bit of a problem. And scale can be a problem with a lot of houseplants. Easy to control. Horticultural oil is a very effective way to control the scale. So not too much in the way of pest problems.
And definitely good news. So, all right. So, if you want to beat the summer heat that we're still seeing and also all the mosquitoes that are out there, Paul, maybe you can bring the garden inside with some of these wonderful houseplants. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Sure does.